And you should be even more concerned. I'm a geezer. I'm going to turn 61 pretty soon. And in fact, as soon as I turn 62 next year, which is going to be timely because my younger son is going to be out of college, so I'm going to have to start making payments on the loans I got for him too. I'm going to start drawing Social Security. I mean, I'll get about 60% of what I would get if I retired at 67. I have no idea how long U.S. government is going to be able to pay me. Plus, I don't know how long I'm going to live anyway. I'm just going to buy myself 1 year life insurance for 3 salaries because plus EKU buys me $50,000 life insurance anyway. The two combined, if I die, would cover all of those. So my kids, my estate wouldn't have to pay any more stuff. If you suddenly said you can no longer collect at 62, you have to wait until 67. If I'm a Republican, I mean, I'm a Democrat, I'm not going to vote for you anyway. But if I'm a Republican, suddenly I'm going to start punishing you. That's why nobody can touch them. At some point, you're going to have to do something about it. For example, for Social Security, you can actually do something about it without cutting the benefits. You guys know that there's a ceiling over which you don't pay Social Security taxes. I think it's 105,000 or something like that. If I'm making $200,000 a year that are subject to Social Security taxes, I pay that 7.2% or 6.2% only on that up to that ceiling. After that, nothing. If we simply lifted that ceiling, that would generate at least 20 years of life to Social Security Trust Fund. And in 20 years, most of the baby boomers are going to be dead anyway. The trouble right now is we started Social Security in 1933. Okay. And at that point, the life expectancy of people were low. Over time, life expectancy has increased. And B, there was a big population explosion after the Second World War. Why? The men were back, right, from the war. And they weren't dying anymore. That plus the increased fertility. And U.S. had a big population expansion. In fact, I am on the last year of that baby boomer growth from 1946 to 46 to 64. After that, rate of fertility went down. I mean, currently it's pretty low. Normally, the way you finance Social Security, you guys are paying Social Security to finance what we're going to get out of it, right? But if the number of recipients are a lot more than number of payers, that creates an issue. But once the baby boomers are dead, the imbalance is not going to be that much. So if you get rid of that ceiling, you basically have no problem. The trouble is that's not going to happen with a Republican administration. Whether you agree with that or not, it's just not going to. They have no problem taxing you through tariffs because they can always argue, oh, somebody else is paying the tax. But if you effectively double the Social Security taxes on people who are making $250,000 or more, then those people have monies that they contribute to campaign finance. So that's not going to happen either. Once there was a problem with the economy in Greece, most of Greek economy depends upon tourism revenues and export revenues. But when the economy crashed, euro lost a lot of value. Uh, or overall the income levels of everybody went down. Well, are you going to eat or go to vacation on Mykonos, which is one of the islands famous for? It's like whatever happens in Mykonos stays in Mykonos, that kind of place. Okay, so obviously you want to eat first, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So there was the big crash in tax revenues because of the crash, and suddenly everybody realized there's something wrong with Greece. In fact, the party in power at that time lost the election, and the new guy said, "We just came over. These guys were lying. Our deficits were even much bigger. They were hiding." Suddenly, the Greek spreads went up. The only way Greece ended up not being kicked out of euro, uh, the German and French governments and ECB pretty much decided if you didn't want to create a confidence issue on the euro itself, they just bought all these Greek bonds from the market. So Greeks owe all that money to ECB, Germany, and France right now. They basically uh, backstopped it. But suppose I bought these Greek bonds at 1% spread back in 2006, and the crash happened and spreads went up to 30. I would have lost a lot of money, right? In fact, for all technical purposes, Greeks were effectively in default. So, to protect myself, me being a Turkish guy, I know that these Greeks are going to screw up. I have a built-in bias. I admit it because of our history with them, and they have the same with us. We ruled Greece over 400 years. Obviously, they don't like that. And the credit default swap works like this. The buyer or the insured promises to make insurance premium payments until default happens. If there is and the seller or the insurer promises to uh, make the buyer whole if a default happens, and receives the defaulted bonds in return. Typically, credit default swap prices are pretty close to default spreads. So let's say at that point it was 100 basis points, and I had 100 million euros worth of Greek bonds, and I went to AIG. AIG was pretty active in those markets, and I told them, I want to do a 5-year deal with you. If during 5 years the Greek government does not default on their obligations, I'm going to give you $1 million every year as an insurance premium. But if they do default, you're going to pay me $100 million and I'll give you those bonds. So we're doing the swap. Whatever you do with those bonds is your business. If you're lucky and governments of Germany and France bail them out, you'll basically benefit from that. But if they don't, you're going to lose all of it. But in the meantime, this is an active market. By 2009, before we knew that Greece was going to be backstopped by essentially EU, those swap rates ran up significantly. So even though there was no technical default, I could have simply went to market and reversed my position. So let's say rates run up to 11%, okay, the swap rates. Right now, I'm obligated to pay AIG $1 million a year, but when I unwind my position, basically I'm going to insure somebody else, but they're going to pay me $11 million every year. So I'm going to be making $10 million on the net. Even without a default, you can benefit from changes in the credit quality. Let's look at some of the rates right now. Let's see. Currently, it's about